Hello and welcome to the Sunday Scoop. You'll notice I've dropped the monthly from that because I think it's fair to say that we've done a fairly poor job of delivering these updates every month. Frankly, that's because we've been so busy with our Catalyst work and the new product features that we're delivering that it becomes difficult and a huge time commitment to sit down and record all the content for you. Between coordinating everybody's schedules and doing a number of takes to make sure that things are delivered naturally and accurately for you, it just becomes a huge time commitment. That being said, with the extended gap, we've got a lot to update you on today. First, Dan will walk you through all of our Catalyst proposals at a high level to talk about our progress on those, and then we'll dive into a couple of them specifically. First, we'll talk about the 2 Hydra proposals, the ADRs that we've produced from that, and what that means, and show our progress on implementation of one of them. Next, Andy, who you've met before, will walk you through the taste test itself and everything that we've built since our last update, and we're going to invite everybody to play with it yourself on the preview network. Next, Calvin will give you an update on the updates to the DEX that we've made, in particular some of the changes we've made around yield farming. And finally, I'm going to talk about a new audit that we're doing with Mehen stablecoin. I thought it would be a great opportunity to give you some insight into how we do audits and how we take that responsibility seriously. And then finally, Dan will close out with some closing remarks and bid you adieu until the next Sunday Scoop. So I'm going to hand it over to Dan for an update on our Catalyst proposals.
Great, thanks, Pi. So this month we're making really good progress on our Catalyst projects. First up, we have our taste test project, which is the automated price discovery. We've been working really hard and we have a really cool MVP of the platform pretty much ready to go. In addition to that, we've also built a market research report to kind of justify a lot of the decisions we're making around the platform. And, again, as a backstop and really good foundation for its launch into the marketplace. We have our 2 Hydra projects, one of which we have a submitted pull request that the Hydra team has accepted, and we tweeted about that, and the other one we're working on getting that other pull request submitted. So those are our first 2 milestones for those projects. We're also making really good progress on our Atala Prism work. We have a change request put in for our Sorbet project to reorient some of the milestones, just get them in line and make sure that we're doing really good work that is going to be meaningful for the community and make that a really cool product for everybody to be able to use. And let's see, then finally we have our last project, which is the smart contract stuff. Well, actually, it's kind of a combination of 2 projects. One is a smart contract audit and one is the Aiken contracts upgrade. So we do have a small change request in with the Catalyst team and hope to hear back, but we're making really good progress and we have some really cool stuff coming up that we'll be able to showcase probably in the next scoop for that project. So that's pretty much it for Catalyst projects update for this month. Now we are going to go back over to Pi to talk a little bit more in detail about those Hydra ADRs. Over to you, Pi.
Hey again. I thought it would be really cool in this scoop to give you an insight into our process for 2 of our Catalyst proposals. 2 of our Catalyst proposals involve upstream pull requests to the Hydra project. As you may know, we're working on a protocol that we're calling the Gummy Worm Protocol, and as part of that work, we identified some upstream changes that would be useful to the broader Cardano community that is using Hydra. Coordinating changes like this between teams can be really difficult, and one technique that the Hydra team is already using that makes this really easy is clearly documenting any architectural decisions that are made. They do this through a technique called an architectural decision record. And the first step in both of these proposals for us was writing an architectural decision record, having a bunch of conversation with the Hydra team, and then getting those merged. For one of these proposals, that started well before we even got Catalyst funding. And the ADR for the second proposal is now in progress. So I wanted to give you a sense of those 2 ADRs. So this is the first ADR that we drafted up and started kind of discussion with the Hydra team on. You can see lots of back and forth between our developers and theirs. And At the end of the day, it ended up being a fairly simple document, but that kind of discussion was really useful for fleshing out what it is we were actually going to build. And you can see that in this pull request. So this is the pull request. This is just showing one commit right now, where we're implementing those changes. And so if you're curious, we'd love for you to go and read through this pull request, provide your community feedback. We're trying to make this a community endeavor, not just kind of building this in a silo. And if you are a project that might find an offline mode for Hydra useful, kind of see our Catalyst proposal for more details. But if you might find this useful, we'd love to hear from you and get you set up to try it out and get your feedback. Next, we've started on the ADR for our second proposal. This proposal is meant to give a deeper introspection and compatibility between community tooling and the Hydra APIs. So for example, something like TX Pipe, the tools that TX Pipe builds can integrate and surface information so we can build explorers and wallets that integrate with Hydra directly. So discussion is going back and forth on this one as we decide what exactly it is we're going to implement. The scope for this might be a bit smaller than we envisioned just because some of the pieces fell into place. And if that's the case, then we are going to go out of our way to also implement a few community integrations to really prove out the value of this. So I just thought that the kind of showing this off and giving you that insight into our process would be something that many of you found valuable, and I hope that you found it interesting.
Thanks for that, Pi. And also a big shout out to the Hydra team for continuing to support us on that project. We really, really appreciate it. Up next, Andy is going to take us through a testnet version of our taste test project. If you don't remember, the taste test is something that we came up with way early on before our launch as a means to potentially smooth out token launches and act as a shock absorber to reduce some of that early stage volatility with respect to any new token launch into the marketplace. This is still a huge problem in Cardano and other ecosystems, and we are really, really excited to get this project out there and start launching some tokens into the marketplace with it. We're going to include a link in the description of this video for you to access the preview version on testnet of the application. We'd really love your feedback and anything that you want to share with us publicly, privately, etc. We'd really appreciate you giving it a run and letting us know what you think. So Andy, take it away.
All right, thanks. So let me guide you guys through our taste test UI real quick. If you want to participate in a taste test, you click on the Discover link in our navigation. This will then take you to our taste test overview page. Here you can find a small introduction on how a taste test actually works. Plus, you will also find a table with all the ongoing taste tests. In our preview environment, we currently have 2 ongoing taste tests, one for the TT1 token and the other one for the Caramel token. In this table, you will also find some more information about a taste test, such as the current status, the end date, the current TVL, the current target price, or the 24-hour delta. If you want to contribute to a taste test, all you have to do is click on the Explore Taste Test button, which will then redirect you to our taste test detail page. In this intro section here, you will find all the relevant KPIs for this taste test, such as, again, the current status and the current target price, also the amount of tokens that have been supplied for this taste test, and some further KPIs such as the unique wallets that already have contributed to this taste test. Further down, you will see a chart with the target price over time, some metadata about the team, plus the reported tokenomics by the project. So if you want to contribute to this taste test, on the right-hand side, you have this input field here. And let's say I want to contribute 200 ADA. So all you have to do is type in 200 ADA, click the action button. This will then show you the transaction details, right? So you will see the contribution that you're about to make, right? So it's 200 ADA. You will see the pool, ADA TT1, and your estimated share of the pool, plus some further information. You check the legal checkbox, and then you click on Submit Contribution. And once it's been successfully submitted, you will now see this window here that the taste test order is being processed. You now can click on View Transaction to see if it's already been submitted to the blockchain. So it doesn't seem that it's already been submitted. You can refresh, or you can refresh your order status right here in our UI. So now you can see that the transaction has been successfully submitted, and you also see a successful deposit here in our contributions table. You can close the window, and then you will see your current contribution. And if you decide you don't want to contribute to a taste test any longer, all you have to do is click the button Withdraw All. Here you can find a small transaction overview, right? Your current contribution is 200 ADA. You will get back your refundable deposit, the processor fee, but you will have to pay the transaction fees. So your total withdrawal amount will be 200 and somewhat ADA. You check the legal box again, and you click on Submit Withdrawal. And once the transaction has been successfully submitted, it is now being processed. You can then click on View Transaction again to see it's already been submitted to the blockchain. You can also refresh the order status in our UI again. Click here. And now you can see that your withdrawal of 200 and somewhat ADA was successful. So yeah, that's basically it. That's how easy it is to contribute to a taste test. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And with that, back to you.
Hey everybody, this is Calvin. Just doing a quick demo on some changes that we've made on the DEX. The first one, really quick, that I just want to demo is, you'll notice up here we have our handle integration for ADA handles. The cool thing about this is, and some of you may have noticed this already, for SIP68 valid handles, particularly the ones that allow personalization, we didn't have support for that, so they would show up really random, like having random names. We've since deployed a fix for that, so now this handle right here is actually a SIP68 that has personalization attached to it, so we'll be able to show those names accurately now. Just one cool thing that we added for that, you'll see down here, this is your profile settings, and for a SIP25 handle, we don't have any personalization attached to it, obviously. So let's just see what happens when I switch to Calvin, which is SIP68. And we'll add more personalization details in the future, but one cool thing that I just wanted to demo was that now we show the personalized handle that I created. So this looks a little bit different than what normally shows up there. So we'll start incorporating more personalization into the DEX as time goes on. Okay, so let's go over to yield farming. The main thing I wanted to show you is that we've added a couple new details here. So the first one is historical returns annualized. Before we would just show the most recent one. Now we show the actual HRA for both programs, because some of these have multiple programs. And we'll also show the tokens that are issued just on here without opening up the popover, so we get more details just immediately. One thing you'll notice, this one has 2 end maker. So if we pop over here, we see that it is earning Sundae yield farming rewards, but it's also earning end maker rewards. And so we add up the HRA for both of those, and you get 201%. Down here, you'll notice we do get a percentage of emissions, but it has 0% delegation. And so we'll just notify you that that is a fixed emission based on the protocol. The next column is community delegation. And this just shows how much of the community has delegated this pool to receive yield farming rewards for the Sundae protocol. To give a little bit more insight into this, we can hover over these percentages and it will tell you the average delegation of Sundae that has been allocated to this pool. If we sort by community delegation, it'll also sort by those in the top tiers that are eligible for rewards based on their allocation. And then the ones that are not highlighted are the ones that are just below and therefore not receiving rewards. So we hope this kind of gives a little bit more visibility just into how the yield farming structure is set up right now. And it makes it easier to just decide which pools you want to contribute to and or which pools you want to delegate more Sundae to so that they receive rewards. Hope this has been helpful. Back to you.
So the last thing we have is Pi, who's going to chat just a little bit about some of the work that we're doing for the Meehan stablecoin security audit. So Pi, over to you.
Now let's talk about a new audit that we're doing for a project that many of you already know, the Meehan stablecoin. Meehan is bringing a fiat-backed stablecoin pegged 1-to-1 with the US dollar to Cardano. We thought it would be great to use this opportunity to give you some insight into how our audit process works and how we ensure the quality of the output of that audit. We're very selective about which projects we work with, and we will only work with somebody who we feel is bringing value to Cardano and whose complexity is kind of within the envelope of what we feel comfortable auditing. Meehan strikes this great balance where they're complex enough to warrant an audit, but not so complex that we would need kind of a full team of engineers full-time dedicated to that audit. At the core, it's a fairly simple protocol. So the first step of that is we meet with members of the team to do what's called requirements gathering. So we sit and we meet with either the engineers or the product leads and write down both a high-level description of what they're trying to achieve and a series of really detailed requirements. This isn't about the implementation of their protocol. So we don't talk at this level, we don't talk about validators or UTXOs or anything like that. We just talk about what are the motivating requirements that would drive decisions in the implementation. Next, we distill that down into a detailed specification. If this is happening very early on in the project, this may drive what the team builds, or if it's happening at the end of a project, we kind of are extracting from their implementation and from discussing how it's implemented, a description at the transaction UTXO datum level of how their protocol should be implemented. We then do a review of this. So we kind of think really carefully and discuss within the Sundae team and with the project themselves to identify potential gaps in the design or in the translation of the requirements to implementation. So this might be things where the high-level objectives leave a gap in the requirements. So, hey, have you thought about this? How are you handling this? Things like that. Or it may be things in the translation from the requirements to the implementation. Like, hey, as it's described, the usage of this UTXO doesn't satisfy this requirement and things like that. Then once we kind of have a really good understanding of the gaps there, we go into the implementation review. So this is once the code is finished and they have kind of a final version, we're combing through every bit of the code, in this case written in Aiken, to identify, does this implement the spec that we agreed to? Or are there details that either are in the implementation that were forgotten in the spec or vice versa? From this, we'll generate a report written up that kind of details our findings, both from the design aspect and the implementation aspect. This can also include things like, inefficiency in the contracts or, better ways to achieve a result using Plutus or Aiken. And then this may go back to implementation review after the team has read the reports and said, hey, we actually don't think this one is applicable, or we're okay with the risk that this represents, or okay, we fixed that issue and this is the most common case, we fixed that issue, can you review the code again? So we may do multiple rounds of this, and then we produce a final report that we give to the team. So it's this really kind of meticulous step-by-step approach where we make sure that we're not coming in with preconceived notions. That's the main benefit of an external audit. As the developers who've built the protocol, you have a bunch of blind spots, the assumptions that you've baked into just by looking at and thinking about the code for a long time. And so bringing that fresh perspective and very meticulously combing from the requirements up through the implementation allows us to see things that the team, as smart and as brilliant as they are, often don't see. Hope that this insight into our process was interesting to you. And if you're a project out there or you know a project who's looking for an audit, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to talk about doing your audit next.
All right, that's awesome. Thanks, Pi. Super excited to be working with those guys, and that's just been an overall amazing experience so far. So we look forward to doing more great work with them in the future. That's all we have for this month's scoop. Thanks again for your patience. We took a little bit of time off for our video editor going on vacation. So you can expect the next one in about a month, and we'll have some good stuff for you then. Take care, and we'll see you guys later.